Hi, welcome to the Shoestring Chef. I'm going to just do a couple of quick cooking tip video type things. One of the things that people ask me a lot is what's the best bit of equipment or the most necessary bit of equipment that you could have in your kitchen. And for me, it's a no-brainer. It's ridiculous the amount of people that ask it, and when you answer it, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, of course." But it's a sharp knife, because with a blunt knife you can't cut anything, and it slows your cooking down, and it's just an absolute nightmare. And to keep a knife sharp really isn't that tricky. What you need is a knife, a steel, which most kitchens I think would have, and a sharpening stone. This is a whetstone. A lot of people will have an oil stone that they use to sharpen chisels or whatever, all sorts of tools, and you can use that as well. But this one specifically I keep specially for sharpening knives. And then because it's a whetstone, I use just a little bit of fairy liquid on there. Just put it all on top of an old tea towel. It doesn't matter if it gets a bit dirty and a bit wet. And then I just wet it down a bit. And then the trick with this is that it's really gentle, and you're using the same angle on the knife on each side. So it doesn't really matter too much what the angle is. The less angle that you're sharpening it on, probably the longer it'll stay sharp for, but the more you have to work it to get there. So if you're using an angle, I don't know, I'm going to say like that, hopefully you can see that, and then it's just about broad strokes like this, and it's applying even pressure. So with this hand I'm drawing it down, and this hand I'm just making sure that we get the same amount of pressure on the tip, and I'm counting 5 on each side, and then I go back and I use exactly the same amount of pressure and the same angle both times. And because I haven't used this stone for quite a while, it's going to absorb quite a lot of water, so I can just leave it. Now there's other gizmos that you can use to sharpen a knife, and if they work, yeah, that's fine, that's great, but just keep your knife sharp. People worry that they'll cut themselves if they're using a sharp knife. But actually I think you'll probably find, as long as you're careful, that you cut yourself less, and it's just so much more pleasant to use a sharp knife. So I'm just using the same, again, like I say, the same pressure, and I'm putting it on the same angle each time, and now I'm just slowing it down to about 2 or 3, but it's always exactly the same amount on each side. That's really, really important. I guess, and I have seen, I don't know that I'd recommend it, but if you don't have, sorry, I'm just washing this now. If you don't have a sharpening stone, I have seen people do it on like a concrete step or something like that. I wouldn't do that with my knives because I like them too much, but I guess if you had nothing else, the other place, or the other thing that you could do is if you take them to your local butcher shop, they're usually more than happy to help you out. Okay, so my knives are sharp anyway, so I was just showing that for just to go through the routine. But the next step, which is really important, people don't use it. People think that a steel will actually sharpen a knife in its own right, and it won't really. What happens with a knife is you end up with a burr over the top of your knife. So say that's the angle of your, I don't know if you can see that, that's the angle of your knife, and then you'll get a burr which is like that. Now most steels are metallic, magnetic, and they will actually take that burr off. So they're not, although they are sharpening it, they're not actually making it sharp. If it's not sharp to start with, they won't make it any sharper. So again, the trick is that the angle that you've used to sharpen it on the stone is the same angle that you use to sharpen it on the steel. So I would always I would hold a steel, so yeah, I guess I forget things like this, but I wouldn't hold a steel like that, because if my knife came off there and it went chop, into my hand, I take a whole lot out, whereas I hold a steel like this with my thumb there, so I'm only going to cut into my thumb, which is still not ideal, but it's a lot better than cutting that whole section in your hand. Anyway, it's not going to happen. But yeah, it's the same angle. And I see all the time sort of chefs giving it all this and giving it lots of welly on there, loads of pressure, and you don't work a steel like that. You always draw it down towards you, and it's all the way through. So at the moment I've only got short knives, but you should always just draw it down, and your steel should be slightly longer than your knife. Okay, so but then when you see your chefs doing all this, and that's just to keep that fur off it, like I say. But yeah, keep your knife sharp, and it just makes it so much more pleasurable to cook. And then yeah, that's good. I'm happy with that. But yeah, try it, see how you get on. And like I say, quite often you can just take it to your local butcher shop, and they're always sharpening their knives, and they'll help you out. Maybe they'll charge you, maybe they won't, but just ask them. Support local, do it.